The free books, blocks, and balls event. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Brody. So this is a drive-through event that's happening later this morning. If you take a look, we already have some vendors and volunteers that are showing up here this morning, setting up their booths. We have Early Learning Neighborhood Collaborative, and just over here we have the Grand Rapids Children's Museum Kids Can Van. We've done segments with them before, so a lot of great partners that are going to be out here today passing out toys that not only are fun for kids all across West Michigan, but have developmental learning options as well to help them with that. So to tell us a little bit about that, I have Tamara. Thank you so much for being with us here this morning. Tell me about this drive-through event. Why is it a drive-through style, and who should come out?
Yes, this event is a drive-through style. We initially had planned on this being an in-person event with different activity stations so that parents could play with their children on site and then do an ages and stages questionnaire. But due to COVID, we had to switch things, but we didn't want to cancel the event. So we decided to do a drive-through because we still felt that these items were necessary and important to get out to the community. So we're deciding to give out essential needs of play bags that will help parents play with their children and also just learn more about developmental needs.
Yeah, no, Great Start Collaborative and Great Start Parent Coalition is handing out bags just like this one, but all of these vendors have their own too, but I want to focus on what's inside these bags. So if we head over here, talk to me about some of the different toys and learning options for kids that they are going to get today.
Exactly. So there are blocks so parents can string the blocks with their children. There's balls to play with. There's Play-Doh. There's little shaker eggs.
Love
there's
it.
crayons, scissors, notebooks, popsicle sticks, stickers. And then there's also household ideas to give you inspiration for play as well. That
Yeah.
parents can use just different household things at home to encourage play with their children.
Now, with COVID-19 going on, a lot of people working from home and kids not in school, this can be a really tough time. So, I mean, these tools are just going to help so much with kids' development.
They are definitely going to help.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that parents should realize too is that play does not have to be structured. I mean, it's okay for it to be structured, but play should just be free range and just free flowing because a lot of kids love to play, and it's so important for brain development and just for their confidence and courage.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this event, you guys, is happening from 10 to 1 at the Alger Head Start building here. That's just off of Alger and Madison in Grand Rapids. You guys are gonna be handing out hundreds of bags today, 300 about. But I mean, these things go fast, so people are gonna want to come early.
They are definitely going to want to get here early, and even if you have older children, we're giving free books to every child that comes as well.
I love it. All right, kids, toys good for kids of all ages. So again, 10 to 1. Make sure you come on by. But for now, I live in Grand Rapids. Savannah Fish, Fox 17 News.
Yeah, very helpful for maybe parents who are helping their students through this difficult time as we transition back to the school year. Savannah Fish, thank you very much for that. 8:11 coming up after this break. Community is working out how to solve systemic racism, what people are doing to solve the high unemployment rate among minorities. Plus, many on the east side of the state still dealing with lead in their water. How the state is paying over $500 million to the victims of the Flint water crisis. Another way to find out if you have COVID-19, it's a saliva test. Is it cheaper? Could be even more accurate. We'll find out.
You're watching Fox 17 Morning News. You're watching Fox 17 Morning News with Brody Carter, Sarah Grimmer, and Anthony Dommel.
As communities confront claims of systemic racism, plans are being made to address these issues. Alicia Nieves explores how people are working to combat the higher than average unemployment rate affecting minorities.
The death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, put a national spotlight on systemic racism and social inequities. And now, the unemployment rate for people of color in the state is further hitting home how real the issue is.
It's really shocking that, that number is the way that it is.
Kimberly Jones was a Minnesota-based flight attendant recruiter who lost her job in March. According to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, she is part of the half of all Black workers in the state who have lost their jobs and have had to file for unemployment. Right now, Black workers in Minnesota are almost 3 times as likely to still be unemployed compared to white workers.
We've been suffering and going through this type of social inequality for so long. It's sad to say you almost get used to the norm. To a certain degree, I get used to that. I get used to the redlining. I get used to the, not being able to get a job. I get used to the discrimination. My hope is that with everything that has happened together the way that it has, it will begin to shed light on things that absolutely have to change.
Employers need deep help in addressing the institutional racism that exists within their walls.
Tawana Black is the founder for the Minnesota-based Center of Economic Inclusion. Her organization has recently created several new positions to help private companies and other employers address their role in this inequity.
We do an assessment up front that helps employers understand across almost 200 different dimensions what's happening inside your business and how do those policies and practices that you have in place either help your employees move forward economically or hold them back. And we're glad to say that employers not only in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but across the country are reaching out.
While employers work on change, Kimberly Jones has changed her mind about returning to the workforce and has instead decided to work on a nonprofit passion project to turn her home into a shelter for women.
It's a program I'm really excited about.
Michigan will dish out more than $500 million to Flint residents over the water crisis. Roughly $600 million from the state will go to Flint residents whose health was damaged from tainted water. More than 5 years ago, under state leadership, the city switched its main water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River, but refrained from corrosion control, leading to lead in the drinking water. Much of that money is supposedly going to the city's children, who health officials say were especially vulnerable and suffered the worst effects. Some of the problems are even still lingering. Payments are not expected until spring. A new saliva test could be given to Americans for COVID-19, claiming that it might be even faster and cheaper to find out if you have the virus. The Saliva Direct test was given emergency use approval by the FDA last week, and it comes from researchers at the Yale School of Public Health. They say they were able to simplify this test without taking away accuracy. Researchers say it's just as effective as a traditional nasal swab and can produce results in about 3 hours. Saliva Direct should be available to those public in the next few weeks. Researchers expect labs to charge about $10 a sample.
All right, Brody, we got some things to talk about, but nothing too impactful in terms of inclement weather around West Michigan for quite some time. We've just got readings that are going to be climbing into the upper 80s to around 90 degrees this afternoon. Blue skies, the rule around West Michigan as we speak, going across the waters of Lake Michigan to Chicago, much of the same. So typically weather moving from west to east. You look in Chicago or Milwaukee, if they're dealing with nice weather, chances are we're probably going to be on a similar track, and we are for today. If you're headed over towards the lakeshore, the south to southwest winds will be continuing at about 5 to 15 knots. Very light in the overnight, very light right now, but will pick up. You'll notice that. And some breezes as far as maybe as high as about 20 miles per hour this afternoon. Waves about 1 to 2 feet. Should have a decent beach and boating, swim conditions in store for today. We don't have any high risks or moderate risks along the lakeshore. So that's some good news if you're looking to get out and about and enjoy these warm temperatures. Grand Rapids on the tower cam, nothing more than just a patch of some high base clouds that are floating on by. Mostly sunny skies to be in charge all the way until the end today. 84 at midday, 89 I'll call it officially on the thermometer. Southwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. I am keeping tabs on this weather disturbance out to the west. This is running into high pressure that is firmly overhead right now. So there is no chance for any rainfall today, despite the close proximity of that weather system. It is just in slow motion. Will eventually start to work in here tomorrow and erode the western edge of this high pressure, which is over top us right now. So by later tomorrow afternoon into the evening, yes, this isolated stray chance for a shower or thunder shower will be out there. The coverage will be light, but there is that chance of the back half of the weekend. Tropical satellite looking at the Atlantic Ocean. We do have a couple tropical storms that we're following right now. This is Tropical Storm Laura, which is on a trajectory for, actually, it looks like moving maybe just to the south of Puerto Rico, but to move over Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, that is, and then continue on this northwesterly track, skirting Cuba, it does appear, perhaps going right over Cuba for a period, keeping the system in check in terms of its strength. Once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, though, a lot of factors, not just the water temperatures, but the upper level ventilation of the system should be able to do well with a light wind shear. So a regeneration of the system, or actually a strengthening to the point that it will never have been at that point, getting it to its peak strength as it does approach the Louisiana coastline in the form of a Category 1, perhaps Category 2 hurricane on Wednesday at some point. And then we've got Tropical Storm Marco, which is emerging from the Yucatan Peninsula area. So that'll continue on a northwesterly track towards Texas at some point very late Tuesday and into Wednesday. So these systems are going to be one after the other. This one not projected to become a hurricane at the current time, but very close. So any additional strengthening versus what the forecast does have right now could actually take that to a Category 1 as well. Watch that closely. Got this system, though, that I was mentioning out over Wisconsin, and that does have some clouds with it. Those won't arrive here until tomorrow, and when they do, they'll be broken. We're just going to go from mainly sunny skies today into a mix of sun and clouds on Sunday, and you see some of those green colors. Eventually, one or two of those showers may creep in here, especially to the north and west of GR on Sunday. Don't count on much, though. If you're looking to count on some rainfall, that'll be down the road on Thursday, really late in the day or overnight into Friday. Brody, is our next chance for appreciable rains. Until then, we've got temperatures around 90 to the lower, perhaps mid-90s. We'll see Wednesday, Thursday.
Crank up the AC. Anthony, thanks for that. It's 8:22. Still ahead on Fox 17 Morning News. Liability and negligence in the workplace are a constant talking point in regards to COVID-19. We'll give you a rundown of what protections are available to you in this week's Know the Law. And it's time now for our Fox 17 Facebook Fan of the Day. Today, it's Morgan. Morgan, thanks for watching. We'll catch you after this quick break.
Political debates over more coronavirus relief funds has included some talk about special liability protections for businesses. Here to help make sense of all this, Tom Sinus of Sinus Dramus Law Firm joining us as he does every week. Tom, talk about how does the law in this area work currently, I guess?
So I hear a lot of talk in the news, as do a lot of people, about liability protections for businesses and coronavirus, either at the federal level or the state level. And it occurred to me, well, wait a minute. Before you talk about that, maybe we should remind ourselves, how does this law work without those protections? And that's really a review of what we call negligence law. So here's the basic principles that apply to any negligence claim. The first is that the victim and the defendant has to have some kind of relationship. The law calls that a duty. It imposes the duty then on the defendant to act in a particular way. Well, what is that particular way? Well, the law says that everyone who owes a duty to someone else must act reasonably. If you fail to act reasonably, then you've committed what the law calls negligence. Negligence just means a failure to use reasonable care. And the third hallmark element of any negligence claim is what the law calls causation, which means proving that the harm was in some way caused by the defendant's actions or the defendant's failure to act. So these are principles that apply even as the law as it exists now. And I think it's important to remember them as we talk about whether we're going to change the law in this area.
Yeah, how would liability protections change the current law, speaking of which, Tom?
Well, it depends, of course, on what you're talking about, state or federal, and this is constantly changing. But the basic idea behind these liability protections is to increase the standard so that the victim has to prove something much higher than a failure to act reasonably. For example, the victim may have to prove that the defendant intended for the victim to contract the virus, or that the defendant acted recklessly or with disregard to public safety. So these are very high standards. And I think as people are thinking about how they feel this way, ask yourself the question, well, how challenging would it be to prove a quote unquote coronavirus case under the old law? If you're in an establishment that's taking reasonable steps to protect its patrons, then there's no liability for the establishment. More importantly, the plaintiff in any case has to show causation, that they can prove that they somehow contracted the virus at that particular location. And boy, that in and of itself is a real challenge. So those are the principles that exist now, and changes of them would just mean that the plaintiff has all that much higher of a burden of proof to overcome, or a standard to overcome, to pursue a claim.
All right, Tom, good stuff. How do people track you down that need more information on this topic?
You can find us online at www.sinusdramus.com. Shoot us an email at info@sinusdramus.com, or give us a call at 616-301-3333.
All right, good stuff. As always, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Derek.
You're watching Fox 17 Morning News with Brody Carter, Sarah Grimmer, and Anthony Dommel.
What's up, West Michigan? Don't forget to follow us on social media. Sarah Grimmer taking a summertime selfie. Very nice. I like that picture frame. Sebastian Monticelco would joke and say it's called Taking a Lonely, but it's a great picture nonetheless. Anthony Dommel with a look at that forecast. What's happening outside?
Hey, Brody, I've seen you take a couple pictures like that before, too, haven't I?
Don't get me wrong. My social media is riddled with lonelies, all right? I think it's normal, 21st century. Sometimes I look good. You just want to snap a little something. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you're looking great this morning, Brody.
Yeah,
That's all
too,
I can
sir.
tell
You
you.
too.
Thanks a lot. Let's go to the forecast, everybody. 62 degrees is what we've got out at the airport in Grand Rapids, and we're going to make a pretty big jump here between now and, say, midday. So we go from relatively cool conditions in the lower 60s to already approaching very warm territory by 12:30 in the low to mid 80s, and we will move rather quickly with expansive sunshine and just some very thin high clouds. I mean, these clouds are so thin and so high you can barely even see them outside. Blue sky is going to be in control today. Readings now coming back from as low as the upper 50s in the overnight because of the light winded pattern, the clear skies, and the dry air mass. Now, I say dry air mass, it's not completely dry. We do have some humidity, but it's quite marginal for where it could be this time of year. This system out to the west, it is going to have an impact on our forecast for Sunday and into Monday. We'll tell you what that means, Brody. And what about all this talk of surging temps into the 90s? We're going to get to that in just a few.
Sounds good, Anthony. Thanks for that. Fall sports are now canceled for student athletes, and our Sarah Grimmer has some advice if your teen's having some trouble adjusting. Sarah?
Well, it's typically one of the most exciting times of the year with high school football getting close to their kickoff season. Unfortunately, COVID-19 sidelined it and a bunch of other sports. According to Dr. Nicole Berkins, a clinical psychologist, surveys throughout the pandemic have shown student athletes are showing rates of anxiety and depression. Those numbers are steadily increasing, with rates of physical activity decreasing. It's a combination that she says can show some serious problems, highlighting the importance of exercise and movement on a daily basis, citing the connection to their supportive mental health.
I think if parents start to notice that their child is withdrawing more and more, not participating in things that they used to participate in, withdrawing more from the family, getting a lot more irritable, maybe feeling more anxious about things, expressing more hesitation to do things that they were comfortable doing, those are signs that anxiety or depression may be an issue.
So with many sports in a timeout, Dr. Berkins says parents should be looking for signs of mental health issues. She says that keeping your kids active during this time is invaluable. Above all else, Dr. Berkins says, please keep talking to your kids. Dr. Berkins also mentions some other things to pass along. For instance, she says coaches are a big part of their players' lives, and keeping in touch with them despite a canceled or a postponed season can go a really long way. Reporting live in Grand Rapids, Sarah Grimmer for Fox 17 News.
Yeah, keep those workouts going even though the season's over. Sarah, thank you for that. Grand Rapids Public School students will have more opportunities here to grab a meal over the school year. The district is increasing the number of distribution sites from 4 to 16. They'll be held every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for at least the first 9 weeks while classes are remote. Each bag contains 2 breakfasts and a lunch.
During the summer months, there's been a lot of different food distribution programs running. However, most of them will be ending in the next week to 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that we hit all areas so that families have access to healthy breakfast and lunch.
All right. Well, we understand that you can find the list of grab-and-go locations by searching for this story. It's on our website, fox17online.com. GRPS classes begin August 25th. Toys are a good distraction and even comforting to some children, and they can actually help with their development. Our Savannah Fish has been live all morning at the free Books, Blocks, and Balls event. What do you have for us?
Hey, good morning to you, Brody. Well, this is a free event. Who doesn't love free? And this is not only going to be a great option for you to get some free toys for your kids, but these toys are also going to help with their developmental skills. I want you to take a look because a lot of these vendors are already starting to show up here this morning. We have the Kids Can van here with Grand Rapids Children's Museum. You can see they have their play-at-home kits for all. We have the YMCA. We have a lot of different vendors that are out here this morning and more still showing up. I'm actually joined now by Tamara. Tell me a little bit about this drive-through styled event in partnership with Great Start Collaborative and Great Start Parents Coalition.
Absolutely. So the event was initially supposed to be an in-person event where parents would have a chance to come and play with their children on site and fill out a developmental questionnaire. But of course, due to COVID, things had to change, but we didn't want to cancel the event because we felt like these resources and tools were very important to get to parents. So we switched it to a drive-through event. So parents will be able to come through, get an essential needs of play kit because we're all about promoting play because play is so important for brain development for children. And also it's just fun and it helps them build confidence and it sparks creativity and all of those great things.
Well, I love it. So like she was saying, this is a drive-through styled event. So if you take a look down there, there's that white van. So this is really where cars are going to start lining up. They're going to kind of go through just as if you were picking up food through a drive-through. They'll be handing you bags full of great toys and different options. So how important is it though really during COVID-19 to make sure that your kids are still playing and learning at the same time?
It is so important because 90% of a child's development occurs in that first 5 years of life. So it's so important to play and foster that skill. And also we'll be handing out books because literacy is so very important as well. So we'll have books for kids of all ages as well.
And if we take a look at a lot of these tables, I mean, Grand Rapids Children's Museum, they have their play-at-home kits, which I'm sure are filled with a bunch of goodies. We have sunglasses and stickers over on this table here. So a lot of great options. This is happening from 10 to 1 today?
Yes, it's from 10 to 1. I would encourage people to get here sooner rather than later.
You guys have about 300 bags that you guys are passing out yourselves, plus in addition to the vendors. But I'm sure they're going to go fast, especially with a lot of families coming by. A lot of interest expressed online.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's been a lot of feedback on Facebook. And also I want to mention too, we will be raffling off a gift basket that is valued at $200. Wow. So we definitely want people to come down.
Awesome. Well, a great option for families to come by today. That's 10 to 1. We're just off of Alger Street and Madison in Grand Rapids at the Head Start Alger building. So make sure you come on by. But for now, live in Grand Rapids, Savannah Fish, Fox 17 News.
Savannah, thanks for that report. Meantime, a business owner in Grand Rapids is asking for your help to get kids ready for school. The End of Summer Bash is a free event outside Tiny Tots Learning Center on Madison Avenue. It's set for August 29th. There will be different vendors on hand with haircuts by donation and free school supplies.
I just really want to give back to the community. Whether children are going in person or virtual, they're just going to need school supplies. And I know it's really hard, especially times like now with COVID. So we just really wanted to give back for the community here in Grand Rapids.
Well, they're asking for donations and supplies to be dropped off at the Tiny Tots Learning Center. If you'd like to volunteer to either cut hair or run the event, just send an email to that address right there on your screen. A veteran walking for a good cause, now joined by a special companion. Earlier this week, we brought you that story of Travis Snyder hiking from Holland to Mackinac to raise awareness for suicides among veterans. Now, our Pay It Forward Person of the Year, 11-year-old Sawyer Hendrickson, walking with Travis Tuesday for more than 12 miles. The young advocate is now joining Travis this weekend, walking with him from Shelby to Pentwater and then to Ludington and Manistee. For many, walking more than 40 miles sounds like a big, tough challenge, but for Sawyer, each step is a statement.
Just coming back out because I have missed him for a long time because of quarantine and COVID, all this stuff that's happened, and just because I think it's important that we recognize everyone who fought for our freedom, just like Travis and my brother and a bunch of other people who served in our military. And I just think it's important to do the best that you can for everyone.
If you'd like to keep up with the duo, check out the Veteran Suicide Awareness Facebook page along with Miss Sawyer's Kids with a Cause, which is also on Facebook. Instead of reading your kids' stories, you can rap them. At least that's what one artist decided to pick up during the pandemic, and it took off in a big way. Isabel Lawrence has this story.
Hi, I'm Wes, and today I'll be rapping a little bit about my new show on Cadoodle TV called Story Raps. It was all a dream. I was floating down the safe.
Wes Tank, who went viral rapping Dr. Seuss books over Dr. Dre beats, is back with a new musical endeavor.
Yes.
I just really wanted to do something that was unique and fun and gave people a little chuckle.
The Milwaukee-based artist and his producing partner Kurt Ravenwood were approached by streaming service Kidoodle TV. Now they're putting children's stories to song.
These classic stories, you know, like Three Little Pigs, Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Be in, let me in, said the wolf with a grin. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then
how can we turn this into a whole rhyming kids book? And then how can we maybe flip some of the morals on their heads?
Apparently the wolf just wanted to hang, and we were making assumptions because of his fangs.
Tank and Ravenwood are rewriting and animating children's stories from scratch so they rhyme, hoping to spark creativity during the coronavirus pandemic.
And, you know, encouraged reading, because I think in times like this, reading is like one of the best things we can turn to.
A reminder of the power of imagination and pursuing what moves you.
I feel like it's just really inspiring that when you like really feels like there's nothing left, you can always turn to your passion projects and they will be there waiting, and maybe they have a surprise for you.
For Tank and Ravenwood, getting to do what they love is their own fairy tale come true.
I just checked him out on Instagram. He's got some good content there. It is 8:42 coming up after the break. Back to school shopping can be a challenge, especially given the weight of COVID-19. We're talking with the marketing director from Woodland Mall about a new option.
Get checking our forecast, everybody. 8:45 now, and mostly sunny skies. There are a few very high-level clouds that are out there to greet us, but there won't be a whole lot today. It will be sunshine in control again. Yesterday's high of 87. Today, we're going to go to 89 by the time this day is up, and mostly sunny skies, really. Southwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. They've been light all morning, but they will pick up a little bit like they did yesterday, late morning and early to mid-afternoon before subsiding again this evening. Sunrise, that checked in at 6:56. A sunset this evening at 8:32. Now, as I've been talking about through this morning show, I am keeping an eye on this weather system out to the west. It's not imminent, but it will bring some additional clouds tomorrow and into Monday, just mixing with that sun. Really, I think the focus for some additional clouds is tomorrow afternoon and evening, but it's not an overcast. It's just a mix of sun and clouds versus the mainly sunny skies we've had the last couple of days and will have today as well. As it comes through, won't have anything more than just a stray or isolated shower with it, as we've been talking about the last few days. So no meaningful rainfall, I don't believe, for the next few days. Got an interesting pattern, though, shaping up, and I will get to that momentarily. Here it is, the upper level pattern, which has all the heat out west, this historic heat wave, and some of that warmth and heat has been slowly working its way over towards the Midwest ever since, what was it now, Thursday, when we got to 85, yesterday 87, today 89. Watch these orange and yellow colors. The warmest of the year always remains out to the west. This is on Saturday into Sunday and Monday. Very similar type of a temperature pattern, upper 80s to near 90 degrees. But to keep an eye on these white lines, these height lines, which do try to dip a little bit. You'll see that noticeable dip out of Canada. We're going to be right on the edge of the heat, the flank of this heat on a Tuesday. So there may actually be Tuesday morning, it's called the ring of fire pattern, where you get all this heat, and then on the periphery of the heat, there can be little thunderstorm complexes, and we may actually be in line for a couple of those to come nearby Tuesday morning and afternoon, at least providing some extra clouds. So that could inhibit real heat on Tuesday. We'll look out for that. Any potential for that ring of fire convection, I think, goes away, though, overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. And then this true heat, the eastern flank of it, does push in on Wednesday, I believe, in the afternoon and into Thursday. So those will be the two hottest days, Wednesday and Thursday, with some prospect to make it into the middle 90s. I think 93, maybe 94 seems a good bet. We'll see how that plays out as we go forward. Certainly just out to our west, areas like Chicago, perhaps Milwaukee, could be in the upper 90s Wednesday and Thursday. It's just a matter of how far that is going to make it eastward. And then eventually some cooler air by next weekend. So that's something to look forward to if you don't like the heat and the humidity. It will turn out cooler. We're going back down into the 70s, I do think, at some point next weekend. This high definition modeling this day on Saturday. Just sunshine, some of those high clouds around, perhaps filtering a little bit of sun. And then this upper level trough, which is out to our west today, producing showers, that will work closer and come atop us later in the day on Sunday. But it'll be in a weakened state, so it's not going to have a whole lot of precipitation. May have enough to throw down an isolated shower there, focused tomorrow afternoon, but as early as tomorrow morning closer to the lakeshore. This is a very minor system on the weather maps, but may have enough to produce a shower at some point on Sunday. Can't rule that out on Monday either. Very slow moving, but it just doesn't have much. So don't count on much rain until we'll look out on Tuesday. That ring of fire pattern could create a few showers and thunderstorms, but a better chance with the cold front that knocks the heat out of here, Brody, later next Thursday into Friday.
Looking forward to that cold front. Thanks for that, Anthony. School's going back in